Hi, this is Alex from devstories.eu. Docker Masterclass, episode 13 of 18. Giving an AI agent direct access to your local database or file system is incredibly powerful, but installing untrusted integration scripts directly onto your host machine to make that happen is a security disaster waiting to happen. The Docker MCP Toolkit fixes this by moving those integrations into isolated containers. The Open Standard Model Context Protocol, or MCP, is an open standard that lets AI clients like the Claude desktop app or the cursor editor connect to external data sources and tools. To give your AI a new capability, you run a small application called an MCP server. Historically, this meant downloading third-party Python or Node scripts and running them directly on your operating system. That introduces heavy operational friction with dependency conflicts, and more importantly, it gives untrusted code unrestricted access to your machine. The Docker MCP Toolkit fixes this by moving those integrations into isolated containers. The first piece of this system is the catalog. A catalog is a registry of verified containerized MCP servers. Instead of pulling random repositories from the internet, you pull standardized Docker images. These images are pre-packaged to run the required tools without requiring any local language runtimes on your host machine. Once you have access to these servers, you need a way to organize them. This is done using profiles. A profile is a configuration grouping that defines exactly which tools are needed for a specific project. For example, you might create a web dev profile. Inside this configuration, you specify that this profile requires the GitHub server for reading code repositories and the Playwright server for browser automation. You set your API keys and environment variables for both tools once inside the profile configuration. Now you have isolated tools and a defined profile. How does the AI connect to them? This is where it gets interesting. The connection is managed by the MCP gateway. The gateway acts as a central router running on your host. You do not configure your AI client to launch individual containers. Instead, you point Claude or cursor at the MCP gateway and request the web dev profile. When the client connects, the gateway reads the profile, automatically spins up the requested GitHub and Playwright containers in the background, and establishes the connection. The gateway brokers the communication between the AI client and the containers using the standard protocol. The AI client believes it is talking to local tools, but all execution happens securely inside Docker. You only configure the tools once in the profile, and you can share that exact setup across any number of different AI applications. If one of those tools misbehaves or is compromised, it is trapped in a container, completely blind to the rest of your system. The true value of the MCP toolkit is that it separates the configuration of your AI tools from the clients that use them, providing heavy isolation guarantees without sacrificing the intelligence of your workflows. Thanks for listening. Take care, everyone.